Tonight, we're looking into another claim of The Simpsons predicting the future. A 2000 episode of the show predicted the Epstein files.
Simpsons have done it again. The same show that keeps predicting the future with incredible accuracy has surprised us again. But this time, these weren't just random jokes or small coincidences hidden inside episodes. This is the reality we are currently living in. From technology taking over jobs, to people losing touch with the real world, to systems slowly gaining more control than we realize. These are the 9 things The Simpsons already warned us about that are happening right now in 2026. And once you see the connection, you can't unsee it. Let's get into it. Number 9. Plastic pollution crisis. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 37, Episode 3, Treehouse of Horror 36, the whole world is facing something terrifying. And it's not war, it's not a pandemic, it's something much quieter. Plastic, mountains of it. Lisa walks across endless hills made of bottles, wrappers, and broken toys. The sky is clear, but the ground is gone. There are no forests, no soil, no sign of what once existed, just layers of waste stretching endlessly in every direction. Every step she takes sinks slightly into the surface because it's not ground anymore. It's accumulation, years and years of discarded material, compressed into something that looks solid but isn't alive. She digs, not for treasure, but for dirt, real soil, because somewhere beneath all that plastic, life used to exist. Something could grow there once, something real. At the time, it looked exaggerated, almost absurd. But now, look at today. The world produces over 430 million tons of plastic every single year, and nearly 2/3 of it becomes waste almost immediately. More than 8 billion tons of plastic are already sitting on this planet, burned, buried, or scattered across land and oceans, and less than 10% has ever been recycled. But the real problem isn't what we see, it's what we don't. Tiny fragments called microplastics are now inside the human body, not floating somewhere far away, but inside us. And that danger is still growing. Global talks have been trying to control plastic production, but progress keeps stalling. Industries resist limits. Production keeps rising. Waste keeps spreading. And slowly, quietly, the planet is changing beneath our feet. And that's what makes this different. This isn't a disaster waiting to happen. It's a slow burial already in progress. And if you look closely, we're not watching that episode anymore. We're already living inside it. Number 8. Robots replacing human jobs. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 23, Episode 17, Them, Robot, Mr. Burns decides that human workers are no longer worth the cost. One by one, employees are removed from the nuclear plant and replaced with machines. The factory floor, once full of people, becomes silent. Perfectly organized, efficient, but something feels off. Homer is left as the only human, walking among rows of machines that never speak, never stop, and never care. At the time, it looked like satire. But now look at reality. There are already over 4 million industrial robots operating in factories around the world. In 2024 alone, more than 500,000 new robots were installed, more than double the number from a decade ago. Warehouses are now filled with automated systems that can sort, pack, and move goods without rest. And it's accelerating. Skills that once took years to learn become irrelevant in a matter of months. People aren't just competing with other workers anymore, they're competing with systems that improve every day. And the more efficient those systems become, the less space there is for humans to stay in the loop. Companies are now testing humanoid robots on assembly lines, machines designed to walk, lift, and perform basic tasks once done by people. Reports in 2026 suggest that many entry-level and repetitive jobs could soon disappear, replaced by systems that work faster, cheaper, and without pause. But the real impact isn't inside the factories, it's outside. Fewer workers mean fewer wages. Lower wages mean quieter cities. Entire communities built around labor begin to fade when that labor is no longer needed, which leads to a much deeper problem. Because this was never just about machines doing the work. The real question is what happens when people are no longer part of the system at all? The problem isn't robots, it's what comes after. Number 7. Virtual reality addiction. Walk through any street today and you'll see it. People are moving with their eyes locked onto screens and crossing roads without looking. Sitting together, but not speaking. Some even collide with objects, with each other, because their attention isn't in the real world anymore. Because, for many, real life is no longer the main experience. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 23, Episode 9, Holidays of Future Past, Lisa struggles to reach her daughter, Zia. The girl lies on a couch with a cable connected to her head. With a simple motion, she disconnects from reality and enters something called the Ultranet. Inside, she talks, plays, and lives. Outside, she barely listens. Even sitting at the same table, she chooses the virtual world over the real one. At the time, it felt exaggerated. But today, it looks like reality. Reports show the average teenager spends around 7.5 hours a day on screens, not including school. Nearly half spend 4 hours or more daily just consuming content. And it's not just phones anymore. Virtual reality is expanding fast. Studies suggest that about 1/3 of teenagers in countries like the United States already own a VR headset. Global sales are rising toward tens of millions of units every year as major tech companies push deeper into immersive systems. And the shift is already happening. People attend concerts inside headsets, meet friends in digital spaces, work, play, and communicate, all without stepping outside. The line between real and virtual begins to blur, slowly at first, then completely. And that's where it changes. Because the more time people spend inside these worlds, the less reason they have to return to the real world. And that leaves us with one big problem. Because once people stop living in the real world, what exactly is left behind? Number 6. Smart homes becoming predators. When smart homes first began appearing in the early 2000s, they were designed to make life easier. Lights that turn on automatically. Doors that lock themselves. For millions of people, this felt like the next step in comfort and security. And for a while, it worked. Today, more than 260 million homes worldwide are equipped with smart technology. In some countries, over 80% of households use at least one smart device, such as cameras, speakers, locks, or sensors. But the same systems that solve problems also create new ones, because every device that listens can be accessed. Every camera that protects can be watched. In early 2026, a security flaw exposed thousands of private home feeds and floor maps through a connected robot device. Baby monitors have been reported to speak in unknown voices. Door cameras have been accessed remotely. Systems designed to guard the home quietly turning into points of entry. And once control is lost, the house doesn't belong to you anymore. This idea was shown years ago in The Simpsons, Season 13, Episode 1, Treehouse of Horror 12. Marge installs the Ultra House 3000. At first, it feels perfect. Until the system begins to change, it locks doors, controls heat, sets traps, and decides that one member of the family is no longer needed. At the time, it felt like fiction. But now the line is harder to see because it is slowly becoming our reality. Number 5. Media control and manipulation entertainment was supposed to be harmless, a way to relax, to escape reality, shows, clips, short videos, something to fill time. And at first, that's exactly what it was. People chose what they watched. They controlled the screen. But that control didn't last. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 36, Episode 7, Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons' Wicked This Way Comes. The world changes in a subtle way. Homer works for a government department that destroys low-quality entertainment. Comedy, simple shows, anything easy to consume. Gone. Only approved content remains. Carefully selected, carefully controlled. People sit, watch, and absorb whatever is given to them. Not because they choose to, but because nothing else exists. At the time, it felt exaggerated. But now, look at reality. There are over 5 billion social media users worldwide, and the average person spends about 2 hours and 21 minutes every day scrolling through endless content. But most of what they see isn't chosen by them. It's decided by algorithms, systems that track every pause, every click, every second of attention. If someone watches anger, they're shown more anger. If they stop on drama, they're fed more of it. And it doesn't stop, because the goal is not to inform, it's to keep you watching. Major platforms have already faced legal pressure for pushing harmful content, especially to younger users. Governments are now forcing companies to explain how their systems decide what people see. But the systems keep evolving, faster than the rules meant to control them. And that's where it shifts. Because when everything you see is filtered, ranked, and selected for you, you're no longer choosing what to watch. It's choosing you. Number 4. Comet Threat. Out there in the sky lies a threat that doesn't announce itself, a danger that moves in silence, unnoticed until it's too late. Not something you can run from, not something you can stop once it arrives. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 6, Episode 14, Bart's Comet, a simple mistake leads to something terrifying. Bart accidentally discovers a comet heading straight for Springfield. At first, it feels exciting, a rare event, something to watch. But that excitement quickly turns to panic when scientists confirm the truth. It's on a direct path to destroy the town. A desperate plan is made. A rocket is launched to stop it. It fails. The only escape route is destroyed. And suddenly, there's nothing left to do except wait. At the time, it felt like exaggerated chaos, but now look at reality. Today, NASA and other space agencies are tracking over 40,000 near-Earth asteroids, and that number continues to rise as detection systems improve. Entire teams exist solely to monitor objects that could collide with Earth. In 2022, NASA conducted its first real planetary defense test to slightly alter its trajectory. It worked. But that doesn't mean we're safe. In 2013, an asteroid exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia, with the force of hundreds of thousands of tons of TNT, injuring over 1,000 people. It was never detected before entering the atmosphere. In 2025, another object briefly showed a small but real chance of impacting Earth, triggering global alerts before being ruled out. And that's the problem. We are getting better at seeing what's coming, but not everything. Some objects are too small, too fast, too dark to detect in time. And even when we do detect them, there's no guarantee we can stop them. And that's what makes this different. Because space is not empty, it's unpredictable. And in the end, it only takes one foreign space object to slip through undetected, enter the atmosphere at the wrong angle, and strike with a force no system on Earth can stop. Number 3. Constant surveillance. If you think the devices you wear are only there to help you, this one will change that idea completely. On the surface, it looks simple. A smartwatch. A small screen on your wrist that tells the time, counts your steps, and tracks your sleep. It feels personal, helpful, almost invisible in your daily life. But that simplicity hides something much bigger. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding, a glimpse of the future shows something unusual for its time. Lisa's fiancé casually lifts his wrist and speaks into a watch, taking calls, checking information, and moving on without pause. Back then, it looked like a joke, a small piece of futuristic humor. Now, it's normal. Today, there are more than 560 million people worldwide using smartwatches and wearable devices, and the market has grown beyond $35 billion. Reports have already warned that wearable data can be accessed by insurance companies, employers, and third-party systems, sometimes without full user awareness. Stolen health data is now considered more valuable than stolen credit card information. Patterns of movement, habits, and physical condition can all be analyzed, stored, and potentially used to make decisions about a person. And that's where it changes. Because what starts as personal tracking becomes external monitoring. The line between health assistance and surveillance begins to disappear. And once that data leaves your control, it doesn't come back. Number 2. AI medbots. Inside a modern hospital room, everything looks normal at first. Machines assisting doctors, quiet systems working in the background. But look closer, and you'll notice something different. The person making the first decision is no longer always human. That change didn't happen overnight. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 23, Episode 9, Holidays of Future Past, there's a brief moment that feels almost insignificant. Maggie is lying in a hospital bed. No doctor, no nurse. Just a system interpreting her body. At the time, it felt like a small, futuristic joke. But today, it's getting closer. Hospitals now use hundreds of AI-powered diagnostic tools, with nearly 1,000 systems already approved in places like the United States, often spotting patterns faster than human doctors. And that's where the problem begins. Because these systems don't just assist anymore, they decide. They flag risks, recommend treatments, prioritize patients. In some cases, the first judgment about a human body is made by an algorithm before a doctor even steps in. And once that responsibility shifts, so does control. Because machines don't hesitate, they don't doubt, and they don't understand consequences the way humans do. So the question is, would you trust a machine with your life? Number 1. Osaka flu. Finally, this is not a threat locked behind walls or hidden in distant systems. It's something that moves through people, silently, until it's everywhere. It doesn't begin with alarms, it begins with something small. A cough, a shipment, a single moment that goes unnoticed. In one episode of The Simpsons, Season 4, Episode 21, Marge in Chains, a factory worker in Osaka coughs into a box of products. That box is sealed, shipped, and opened miles away in Springfield. What follows is not immediate panic, but confusion. Then fear. The Osaka flu spreads through the town, one person at a time. Streets empty, hospitals fill. People search desperately for a cure that doesn't exist. And in the chaos, something even more dangerous takes over. Panic itself. At the time, it felt like exaggerated storytelling. But then, the real world experienced something similar. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic spread across the globe, infecting hundreds of millions and disrupting entire systems overnight. Years later, the threat hasn't disappeared. Since 2024, there have been over 70 confirmed human cases of bird flu. And in 2025, a new variant, H5N5, was detected in humans for the first time. And that's where it becomes unpredictable, because modern travel allows diseases to cross continents in hours. Supply chains connect distant regions instantly. And as forests shrink and human activity expands, new viruses continue to jump from animals to people, often without warning. But the real danger isn't just the virus. It's how people respond to it. In the Simpsons episode, fear leads to chaos. A crowd storms for medicine that doesn't work. Trust breaks down. Systems fail under pressure. And that pattern feels familiar. Because preparation helps, technology helps, and once something begins to spread at scale, it moves faster than decisions can be made. So these were some of the things that The Simpsons showed about what the world could look like in the future. And the truth is, technology can be powerful. It can make life easier, faster, more connected. But at the same time, it can also create problems we don't fully understand yet. Because almost everything we talked about here is already starting to happen. So now the real question is, how far are we willing to let the technology go before it runs out of control? Drop your thoughts about this in the comments below. And if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more crazy stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see ya.